existence doesn't truly ignite until the necessary foundations have been laid in the shadowed depths of our early years. Carl Jung, a towering figure in the dark labyrinth of 20th century psychology, insisted that the first decades of life are less a story than a prelude, a haunting rehearsal for what's to come. Life only begins at 40, he declared. Everything before is merely research. This unsettling proclamation defies the pervasive dread society casts over aging. We are conditioned to tremble at the thought of growing older, to see midlife as a descent into chaos, loss, and despair. The cultural myths of the midlife crisis painted as a suffocating darkness filled with panic, regret, and futile grasping at fleeting youth. Yet, Jung's vision is eerily different. What if this so-called crisis is not a death knell but a sinister awakening? What if the decay we fear is actually a gateway to some deeper, shadowy beginning? The initial 40 years become a twilight zone of gathering. Experiences are collected, identities forged in the crucible of confusion, all while the soul searches for meaning in a world that offers none. We are wandering specters, absorbing much yet comprehending little, eternally haunted by the question, who am I? What purpose haunts me? What dark joy might I pursue? These are not the innocent queries of youth, but the restless murmurs from a place beneath the surface, feeding a hunger that cannot be satisfied by the shallow answers of early life. The first 40 years are not simply growth. They are a somber trial before the real, uncharted abyss begins. During those initial years, we're attempting to understand life while discovering our identity. We establish careers, relationships, and families, often prioritizing outward achievements and societal approval. We learn, push ourselves, and sometimes stumble, all experiences that shape who we are. Yet, as Jung points out, this period serves as preparation. It's a time of gathering insight and setting the stage for something deeper. Approaching our 40s, we start feeling that former ways of living don't fulfill us anymore. The goals that once felt crucial, advancing careers, conforming, meeting expectations, begin to lose their power. We become aware that many of our actions were influenced by others' ideas of success and happiness. Though this awareness can be unsettling, it also brings freedom. It marks the start of a new chapter, which Jung termed individuation, a journey toward wholeness and living authentically. This transition doesn't happen suddenly or overnight. It unfolds gradually, often sparked by quiet, personal questions like, is this all there is? Am I living the life I truly want? These thoughts can arise during reflective times, a work achievement, a milestone birthday, or a peaceful evening alone. Once such questions surface, they persist, growing stronger and requiring us to face ourselves in new ways. Society might call this phase a midlife crisis, viewing these moments of doubt and transformation as a breakdown. Jung encourages us to see this experience differently. What if it isn't a crisis at all? What if it's actually an opportunity? What if this phase of life, with its challenges, uncertainties, and changes, is precisely what we need to evolve into the person we were always destined to become? According to Jung, midlife isn't the start of decline. Rather, it marks the beginning of something deeper, more meaningful, and authentic. To grasp Jung's view, it helps to reflect on how we approach the first half of life. During that time, our focus is on developing what he termed the persona, the outward identity we show to the world. This persona is shaped by our upbringing, cultural influences, and societal expectations. It's the version of ourselves that seeks acceptance, conforms, and aims for success in the eyes of others. Although this phase is necessary, as it helps us navigate society and lay the groundwork for adulthood, the persona doesn't represent our entire self. It's a kind of mask, a role we adopt, and while useful, it represents only one facet of who we truly are. The trouble begins when we cling too tightly to this mask, confusing it with who we truly are. By the time midlife looms, the cracks in this facade start to widen, revealing the fractures beneath. The personas we've inhabited, the triumphant professional, the dedicated parent, the obedient partner, transformed from comfortable roles into suffocating prisons. A dark whisper stirs within, hinting at something lurking beyond the surface, something deeper and far less forgiving. This is the threshold of what Jung called individuation, a journey into the shadowed depths of the self. Individuation demands we confront not only the polished, acceptable fragments of our identity, but also the hidden, twisted shadows we have buried and denied. This shadow harbors the parts we've rejected, our deepest fears, raw insecurities, and the desires that gnaw at us from the dark recesses. Facing it is no gentle task. It can rend the soul with pain and dread. Yet, only through this harrowing confrontation can we ever glimpse the possibility of wholeness. At midlife, this dark reckoning gains an ominous urgency. The questions that arise are no longer about the trophies we display or the roles demanded by society. They are about what haunts us beneath it all. What truly shapes my core? What echoes will I leave when the mask finally shatters? What life will I forge from the ashes of this false self? These questions force us to turn inward, to listen to a voice often drowned out by the cacophony of expectations. This turning inward brings a profound shift. The youthful pursuits of ambition, rivalry, and validation lose their hold, replaced by a haunting clarity about what lies beneath the surface. To ignore this inner summons is to risk being forever trapped within the shadows of a persona that is no longer ours, a slow descent into emptiness behind a fragile mask. We spend so much of our early years chasing after success, recognition, and material things, but by the time we reach midlife, those pursuits often feel hollow and unimportant. Slowly, what once energized us fades, replaced by a quiet yearning for something deeper. Authenticity, genuine connection, a sense of meaning. Life shifts from constant doing to simply existing, but not with ease or joy, rather with a sobering awareness. It's no longer about proving ourselves to the world, but trying to live honestly with who we truly are, even if that truth feels fragile or uncertain. Scientists who study the brain tell us that this change is reflected in how our emotions evolve. As we age, the emotional centers of our brain tend to balance out, making us less impulsive, more inward. Yet, that calm can be tinged with melancholy. We gain a certain clarity, but also an acceptance of loss. The emotional maturity we develop helps us make choices based on what we value, rather than what scares us, allowing us to stop drifting through life without direction. But this awakening doesn't erase the loneliness, it often deepens it. Midlife frequently brings upheaval, a painful questioning and shedding of old selves, relationships, and ambitions. Letting go can feel like a slow, aching loss of everything we thought defined us, leaving us adrift in a quiet crisis. Brené Brown describes this as an unraveling, a painful shedding of the facades we've held onto for so long. It's a time marked not by clarity, but by the haunting sense of who we thought we should be slipping away, sometimes making us feel quite small and lost, as Brené Brown explains. What we often refer to as a midlife crisis is really an unraveling. This period challenges us to release the identity we think we're meant to have, and to accept who we truly are. This unraveling can be chaotic, involving tough conversations, significant life shifts, or uncertain times. Yet, it's also a moment of profound growth. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, suggested that the central drive in human life is the pursuit of meaning. At midlife, this urge intensifies. We no longer want to follow someone else's script. We seek a life that feels meaningful, even if it differs from our previous expectations. For many, this means facing fears that have restrained them. Fear of judgment, failure, or stepping into the unknown. These fears can be immobilizing, but midlife presents a chance to confront them directly. It's an opportunity to rewrite our life's narrative, shedding what no longer serves us and embracing what truly matters. Abraham Maslow, a key figure in humanistic psychology, called this journey self-actualization, the pursuit of realizing our full potential and becoming the best version of ourselves. At midlife, self-actualization gains deeper significance. It shifts from external achievements to finding inner satisfaction, living authentically, and with purpose. This journey is far from easy, yet it carries its own bittersweet rewards. Research has found that many people in their 40s, 50s, and beyond often feel a deeper sense of life satisfaction than they did in their 20s and 30s. They find themselves more connected to who they are and to others, less burdened by the fear of judgment, and more intent on pursuing what truly brings them meaning and joy. This is the quiet gift of midlife, a kind of freedom to live on our own terms, though often tempered by a lingering ache for what was left behind. Jung saw this freedom as arising from fully embracing the complexity within us, the light alongside the shadows, the victories next to the losses, the hopes alongside the disillusionments. It means confronting and accepting even those parts of ourselves we wish we could hide. As Jung once said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, yet it grants a strange, aching liberation. Midlife is not merely a time to mourn what we've lost or what slipped through our fingers. It is a solemn moment to acknowledge what we've gained, wisdom tempered by pain, Clarity born of countless struggles, resilience carved out of hardship. It's a time to attempt crafting a life that finally feels authentic and whole, even if that life carries its own shadows. It may not be the start of the end, but rather the beginning of something more profound, though tinged with a quiet sadness for the years quietly past. The road through midlife is often rugged and weighted with memories and regrets, but it is also a journey toward meaning. Life begins anew around 40, not because all questions have been answered, but because the questions we now ask echo deeper truths, even if they stir a profound melancholy.